Not available, but if you can leave a
You are listening to SPN, the Sports Podcasting Network.
Terminó Axel Schwarzenegger. Up, 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 up.
Va a pegarle Ronaldinho Gaucho. Ya lo hace. Pierna derecha, directo al arco. ¡Golazo! ¡Golazo!
This is Soccer Today, live on SPN Radio, your new live show about the beautiful game in all its glory, with Duane, Rollins and Kevin Laramee. MLS, EPL, La Liga, Champions League, all is fair game. Powered by the Sports Podcasting Network. Visit us at sportspodcastingnetwork.com.
Welcome to Soccer Today. I'm Duane Rollins. Kevin Laramee joins me on the line as well. We had a guest book that we promoted. We can't get him on the phone, so we're going to keep trying, but we're going to start the show in the meantime. How y'all doing out there, folks? Live radio ain't it grand?
Yeah, Duane, and doing better than maybe TFC after this. Well, the first half went according to what we imagined, but Ottawa coming out of the gates in the second half, scoring 2 and winning the first leg of the Amway Canadian Championship. That had no chance of happening. No chance, right? Right?
I don't think I said no chance. I said it was 100-1 is what I said. Well, here's what happened. The kids that TFC threw out, and they did actually put a lineup that was much more, shall we say, experimental than I anticipated they might too. I'm not trying to make excuses for myself. Obviously, I'll put the egg on my face for giving them very little chance to win that one game. The Ottawa took what was given to them. The TFC played like crap. Disjointed, uninspired. Raheem Edwards, who's been brilliant all year, was horrible. There's no other way to put it, and lost his mind at the end and got a second yellow card to lose the opportunity to play in the second leg. Just a mess of a game in many, many ways. It's, sometimes big clubs, and I think in this context, there is no doubt that TFC is a big club compared to a USL team. They crap the bed in cup games. It happens, and it happened to TFC yesterday. Now, look, this is not a situation where you should be if you're TFC, you shouldn't be talking about away goals and so on and so forth. And we'll talk about away goals in a minute and how important it was for Montreal. But the reality is, regardless of how embarrassing, how much egg on TFC's face that they have today, how sad it was that the performance in the second half, how troubling it is that the kids didn't step up and get it done. The reality is they do have the away goal, and they're still in good shape to win this tie. But nonetheless, that's something that I think a lot of people that don't like TFC, a lot of people that like to see, tall poppies get chopped off, probably enjoyed last night. And I'm sure Fury fans will remember the night for a long time. But
apparently Ottawa was rocking last night, and it had something to do with the hockey team. But maybe
I was going to say, I'm sure the Fury match was exactly why Ottawa was rocking last night.
Maybe, but what I think it's interesting with the result of Ottawa. And same for Montreal and Vancouver. Basically the same situation. Vancouver's got the 2-1 win at home, and Ottawa got a 2-1 win at home. But they're going on the road going to face a different lineup, different roster, different selection. Montreal will have a lot stronger team. Same for Toronto. And the second leg, they only need a goal and they move on. And that was a situation where Montreal and Toronto wanted to be in, where one goal at home and you're through. So it's, yes, there's a slight advantage on Vancouver and Ottawa, but still, like we talked about yesterday, the one goal makes a big difference. The away goal makes a big difference for Montreal and for Toronto.
Yeah, look, to stick with Montreal, the Ottawa series for a second. Ottawa's already won this, right? Like, I mean, not really, not literally, but I think that, figuratively, so to speak, they've already won this tie in the sense that they got the win at home, and that's a huge thing for them to do. Just promotional wise, it's too bad that the hockey game was happening. If you're not aware, if you don't follow the NHL, the game 6 of the conference finals happened last night in Ottawa at the same time. So obviously, most of the attention in the city was geared towards the bigger team in the city. But nonetheless, I think that the fact that they stood up and were able to get a result against TFC, that's going to play well in their marketing efforts. It's going to play well to sort of galvanize their support moving forward, and that's important for them. Look, delicately, I'll say this delicately or a little less firmly than I said yesterday, but if you put TFC's first choice lineup out there next Wednesday, I'm going to suggest that it's likely that TFC will at least get a 1-0 win at home. That seems like something that should not be out of the question for a club like TFC right now. So I wouldn't necessarily say that Ottawa did enough to make themselves the favorite to advance in this tie. Had they scored another goal last night in the dying minutes, then maybe. But only the 1-goal lead with the away goal on the board. You would think that they'll tighten it up. Michael Bradley will probably play. You'll probably might even see Vasquez in there. Josie might get a run out. Like you put those guys out there, it's going to really tip the balance. But nonetheless, who cares if you're Ottawa? Like when you're marketing this win, you're not going to say, we beat TFC asterisks. No, you're going to say we beat TFC and let everyone go where they want to go with it.
And there's always the feeling too, right, where the motivation factor of Ottawa yesterday. If you look at our Rosenblum and Rob Williams, especially, by the way, very entertaining. Ryan Williams every Wednesday on social media. He does the job of a reporter, takes the microphone and goes around the locker room and interviews his teammates. And that's quite interesting. Every Wednesday for Ottawa, it's Wednesdays with Williams, with Ryan. But great performance by him with the go-ahead goal. And you did have that feeling of Ottawa like up for this game, right? They had something to prove. They want to show their supporters something, right? We're facing Toronto for the first time. We got you covered. We'll give you a result you'll remember. And it's a little easier to have that second, third, fourth effort when you're Ottawa last night.
Yeah, no, precisely. And I think also, look, if I'm going to, there was a lot of overreaction on TFC Twitter last night, as TFC Twitter is apt to overreact over everything. It's why I don't write game reports anymore, because it's ridiculous how much the mental fragility of the fan base swings up and down according to a result. But nonetheless, if I'm going to be worried about something, what I'm going to be worried about is sort of the mental approach to the game that the young Canadian kids put out there. And this is always something that I think this worries people that are close to Canadian soccer, and it's why some people that are close to Canadian soccer don't like the idea of Canadian quotas and things like that, is because they feel that there's a certain aspect, particularly when you talk about the MLS teams, of belief that they're just going to step on the field and be given stuff, these young Canadian players to get the chance with TFC. And I kind of sniff of that last night, that, and I'm not trying to throw Jay Chapman or Raheem Edwards or any of these guys under the bus for this individually, but something in their mind just didn't allow them to step up and put the type of effort in needed to defeat a team that was highly motivated, as you say. And look, I think Raheem Edwards, Jay Chapman, the two players I just named, for instance, are highly skilled, but they still need to put the shift in. And maybe when you look at Raheem Edwards' game and how poorly he played and how he was probably at fault, he was at fault for the first goal. He definitely was at fault for getting himself sent off.
Yeah, late in the game where it was unnecessary, where he just lashed out at the referee. And it wasn't Drew Fisher, but actually Drew Fisher was referring Montreal, which that was interesting. But back to Toronto.
Yeah. Well, he threw the ball down. That's what he got the card for. It's like when he threw the ball and it hit the Ottawa player, that it was done at that point. You got to give the yellow card there. I mean, it's just stupid. It was like pure stupidity by a player that we all have a lot of time for based on what he's played. But what I'm sort of getting at with that is his intensity and his sort of effort level is there in MLS because he respects that level. He didn't necessarily based on his results yesterday. And I'm not in a man's head, so I can't tell you for sure, but it appeared like he didn't respect the level of his opponent at the level that he needed to yesterday. And that's just one example. And maybe that's a lesson for a young kid that might bode well in the future. But for right now, look, I'm sure that there were a lot of really angry people at TFC last night. Greg Vanney looked like he wanted to strangle some people at the end of that game because I'm sure that what Toronto wanted was to get a 2-3 goal lead on the road so that they could put the same lineup out again on Wednesday and not worry about it. But now, in this heavily congested area of the schedule, they're going to need to swing out some of the big boys to get this done because they don't want to take a risk to not advance. And I don't think that's at all what he wanted to do. And now because of the play of last night, which, again, no excuses. They crap the bed, and I would use a stronger word if I like swearing on the podcast, which I don't necessarily.
But
so
yeah, no, they laid an egg, and but again, it's only 1 goal difference. It's a home and away series, and it's only half done.
Fine.
Yeah, exactly. It's only half done, and you have to take this into consideration too, where it's only half the tie. Tactically, you cannot necessarily analyze this game until it's over. It might all be part of the plan. Now Ottawa might be like celebrating, and they're gonna, all right, we can do this if we can, and then Toronto's gonna score 5 on them, and reality is gonna hit like a brick wall when you're going at 225 miles an hour, like they will be going on Sunday at the Indy 500. Reality hits hard, and maybe that's what Toronto's trying to do. We have to wait till, same for Montreal. We have to wait until the second tie to actually analyze the thing.
Yes, and you gearheads out there, I did notice that there's an Indy 500 preview on the network if you want to go listen to that after this. But at any rate, Kevin, yeah, look, I don't want to sound arrogant about this because I'm not trying to, and I understand that the ball is round, like we said yesterday. But the reality is this does sort of harken back to TFC's terrible season when Montreal was doing pretty well, and we all know what the second leg result looked like, right? I'm not saying Toronto's going to lay 6 on them, but they should be fine. Anyway, why don't we take a quick break? We'll try and get our guest on the line again. If that doesn't work, we'll come back and we'll look at the Montreal-Vancouver game and in the second part of this.
You're listening to Soccer Today on SPN Radio. You can find the on-demand version of this very show on iTunes, Stitcher, Feedburner, Podbay Player, Podbean, anywhere you get your podcasts under the Sports Podcasting Network feed. Subscribe to our YouTube page to make sure you never miss a live show talking about soccer today, the MLS postgame show, open lines after dark, 5 rings daily during the Olympics. Make sure you subscribe and give us a follow on Twitter at SportsPodNet and like our Facebook page, facebook.com/Sports Podcasting Network. And we are back on Soccer Today. It's a great pleasure that we welcome Canadian soccer legend to the show, Alex Bunbury. Alex, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be on your show.
Alex, this is Duane Rollins. It's good to talk to you too. Kind of surreal sometimes talking to guys that I grew up watching, and I hope that doesn't make you feel old when I say that. But
it actually makes me feel old. It actually makes me feel old.
Nonetheless, I'm not that much not that much younger than the record, but nonetheless, I do appreciate all that you did for Canadian soccer. Let's start with this. You have some interesting stuff going on in Guyana, your heritage, your home where you were born. Can you just tell us a little bit what you're doing down there?
Well, I think it's incumbent upon us that when we have an opportunity and we've been given so much, that we have to give back. And obviously Guyana is my birth country. And, I left Guyana at the age of 9 and migrated to Montreal with my entire family. So obviously there's a lot in terms of my formative years in Guyana. And I thought it was very important that I went back to the country of my birth to make sure that we can give hope and opportunity to these young people that so desperately needs it. And what better way of doing that by having a marriage of sports and academics. The importance of utilizing both of those entities to enhance our young people in Guyana, to ensure that they will get opportunities to develop in both areas. And I'm working hand in hand with the government of Guyana, and I'm so grateful for their assistance in making this endeavor, which is a big endeavor, a reality for all of the people in Guyana.
It's good stuff. And reading about that, it seemed to me just sort of what you said there when you announced this was that just you didn't feel that the potentials was being met from the young people that were down there. So just talk about a little bit about that. What kind of potential you see for the future of Guyana athletes, academics, just what kind of potential is being missed down there?
Well, here's a perfect example, right? We migrated to Montreal in '76, I believe, and I was 9 years of age. And I was afforded the opportunity of having a good education, state-of-the-art facilities academically and athletically. And I think the disadvantage that these young boys and girls have in Guyana is that they're not afforded those same opportunities that I was afforded in so many young boys and girls in Canada that we take for granted. And I think that for me, it was very important for us to do something to show these kids that if someone like myself, who comes from the same background that the majority of these kids, I mean, I come from the village of Plaisance and we didn't have much financially. But once I was given that opportunity, I took full advantage of it. And I was grateful to having all the support and having qualified teachers and coaches to enhance my God-given abilities. So I believe that if we can do this, if we can provide hope and opportunity to young people in Guyana and give them that hope and give them state-of-the-art training facilities, if Alex Bunbury can do it, and I hate talking in the third person, but I'm using that reference to make an example. If I can do it, because I had the opportunity of being in that environment, can you imagine how many more Alex Bunburys are out there that can even surpass what I've accomplished? So this is what I'm trying to bring to our country, my country of birth, and pass on what I got from my adopted country that gave me so much, Canada. And use that as an example to put these young people in a safe haven. And that's what we've been working on. And I'm very, very pleased with the progress that we're having working with the government. And we've just secured financing for this incredible endeavor.
We talk a lot about infrastructures and the development of young players at all levels, academically, athletically, having the right place to be able to bloom as an athlete. And as a young player growing up in Canada, Alex, you probably did not have the same type of infrastructures that are actually in place now, and especially will be in place in the near future. What is your overall thought of where Canadian soccer is in 2017?
To be honest, I'm kind of disappointed. I'm disappointed that we have not gone further. I think of back in the day when I played as a young boy. We had aspiration every year when I played on the national team or in the youth teams. We always had aspirations of going to the World Cup, or qualifying for the World Cup, or at least getting a footstep away from being there. And it just seems like in the past 20 years or so, we have not progressed. Now, I think there's a lot of blame to go around when we're talking about that, because Canada is one of the richest countries in all of North America, when you think about it. And for whatever reason, I don't understand why we have not invested properly into the development of young players, boys and girls. I mean, on the women's side, Canada seems to be doing just fine. Why aren't we doing that on the men's side? So I think the decision makers have to understand that it all starts at the youth level, the grassroots level. And I think people have to start not thinking of themselves, but they have to start thinking of young people. I think what's happening is that when we get into the pay-to-play environment, it takes away from developing young players. It becomes more of an adult thing, if that makes any sense. It becomes the parents and it becomes administrators, rather than it being a game where, when I was younger, it was all about my ability. It wasn't about how much money I had or my parents had. It was my ability. And people were willing to make sure that I was taken care of, even though my mom and my dad could not afford certain things. We were taken care of. We were scholarship in that sense. And I think what's happening is because there's that pay-to-play mentality now, not only in Canada, but in America as well. We are producing good players, but we're not producing game changers. We're not producing creativity anymore. Everything is put into the team concept. You're as good as the team. And I think that that's what's killing our sport. For me, soccer is an individual sport. And then you come together collectively and you form a team. So you have to have your individual brilliance shining at practice and in games. And if those things are marginalized because you do not have the resources, or you're on a team and you're a really good 9-year-old or 10-year-old player and you dribble too much, and instead of people showing you the right way to use that ability, they are downplaying it. They're marginalizing you. They're shouting at you, don't pass the ball, pass the ball. So that parent that writes out a check, if her daughter or her son is not that player, they're not too pleased about it. So they're shouting at that kid. And now all of a sudden that young boy or young girl that is really talented, they feel suffocated and stifled, and they're not showing their true abilities. And then the coaches now are put into a very difficult position, because now they have to cater to the needs of these parents that are writing out the checks. So we have to get rid of that kind of system. We have to bring in a system where you are valued on your ability. We have to bring in a system where everybody's treated fairly, but not equally. You have to base it on your talent and your willingness to work hard on your own and develop your skills, so that when you come to practice and you come to games, you are standing out in that game as an individual. And then collectively, you're playing well. You look at North American teams, you look at the US national team and the Canadian national team, what do you have? You have very good team players. Where are the game changers? Where are the Messis and the Cristiano Ronaldos of the world? We have so many great athletes in Canada and America. Why aren't we producing those players? Because it's all about the team. It's all about team first. No, I believe in the individual first. We have to have individual brilliance, and we have to have coaches that realize this and recognize it, and parents that understand that for us to move forward, football or soccer in Canada, we need individual brilliance, not just team brilliance.
I think there's
That's my 2 cents.
No, I think there's a lot of truth in what you are saying, Alex, and the aspect of working on your craft, all that you can, that desire, that drive of always having the ball at your feet if you're a striker, at your hand if you're a keeper, that aspect of having to work hard in an insane amount of level, the 10,000 hours, and all those philosophies of having dedication to crazy, almost insane level to be able to achieve what you could achieve potentially as an athlete. It's a feeling that is hard to find in our mentality, the way we bring up athletes, the way we, instead of nurturing the physical skills and helping them, it's feeding them, like you mentioned, Alex. It's true. I've seen it so many times on the sideline in so many different sports, where we're literally using the lowest common denominator instead of the tall puppy syndrome, like Duane would say. Instead of taking them aside and like, yeah, you don't need to be a show off, but you need to work on those things, and this is what you can do, and this is what you can use it for. We kibosh it. No, I have to agree with you, Alex. And we're in a time now where it's slowly changing. We have people like Jason DeVos in a role with the Canadian Soccer Association to take a look at how we do things and to potentially change structures. Do you think that going forward with the Canadian Premier League, is it time now to have a pyramid, a pathway, a standard base skill set level teaching kind of system for the kids soon.
Oh, definitely. We have to have a curriculum that, if you don't have a strong youth development program, we're not going anywhere in Canada. I don't care what anyone says. If once you reach a certain age, once you reach 15, 16 years of age, there's no turning back. There's no all of a sudden there's something you're going to do that's going to change. So we have a window of teaching kids, first and foremost, if a kid loves to play soccer, him or her are out on the field kicking the ball when they're 5 years of age, don't teach them about coordination. Don't teach them about dribbling and this and that. Just let them go out and play. Let them play until they're 7, 8 years of age. Then once you start seeing that development, then you can start putting certain kids when they're 8, 9 years of age. Okay, you're in that class. You're in this class. You need a little bit more development. You're a little bit more advanced. And then that kid that's not quite there yet, in a year or two, will catch up to the other kids that are there. And we have to recognize that. And we have to reward these kids. We have to stop trying to treat and treat everyone equally. That's a big, for me, that is the one thing that is killing the game in America and Canada. Everyone wants their kids to be treated the same way, to have equal playing time with certain kids. And once we recognize the fact that, no, you're not ready to play at this level at the moment, and even if you're on this team, you are not there yet. We are going to guide you and protect you and teach you the ropes of how to get to that next level. But don't come in and trying to say that my son has to play the same amount of time as John here, who is an exceptional player. And once we start getting that attitude into place, I think that's where we're going to take off, because we have the athletes. It's not that, and we have the state-of-the-art training facilities. You take Portugal, for instance, where I played. My son is at the Sporting Academy, 2005 Sporting Academy. And I went there and I absorbed what they're doing. And it's incredible. The mentality that these kids have at a young age in comparison to what we have in Canada and America is night and day. It's night and day. They understand that they have to go out and work hard in practice. They have to do all the work that they need to do on their own. And they have to perform. And they have that carrot in front of them, is that they want to play in a professional league. They want to play for Sporting. They want to play for Benfica or whatever it may be. So the Canadian League is going to be crucial in terms of getting our young boys and girls, and especially the boys at the professional level, an opportunity to dream and dream big. So I have a different philosophy, but it's not rocket science. We have to make sure that we create individual brilliance in our country. And we're not doing a good job of it right now.
Alex, obviously you had 6 great years in Portugal. You're still well known amongst certain fans there for sure. A great career there. But I'm wondering, do you feel that you would have had that same level of success in Portugal that you did if you didn't have the Hamilton Steelers, you didn't have the Toronto Blizzard, Montreal Supra before that in your resume?
No chance. Canadian Soccer League was the impetus. If I did not have the Canadian Soccer League, and if we did not have the Canadian Soccer League, you wouldn't have players like Paul Pesce-Solito and multiple players that went off to Europe and did well for themselves. Canadian Soccer League taught us how to be professionals and being in a professional environment, how to take care of your body, how to train hard, how to make dedication and sacrifices. Big kudos to Mario Di Bartolomeo and others that put in so much of their own resources to keep that league afloat and to give us the opportunity to express ourselves and to be seen. So if we are going to get a Canadian Soccer League, all I can say is that if we do it the right way and we get the right people involved, it will be a tremendous asset to our young people and to the sport in general. I'm looking forward to it.
And it's going to start soon, the Canadian Premier League. I'm wondering, Alex, what was your first reaction? We all knew it was coming. We've been hearing about it and hearing the rumblings for a year and a half. But what was your thought when it finally was announced?
I was overjoyed. I think that it's about time. It's unfortunate because the MLS, I think, is moving in the right direction as a league, and it's progressing and it's growing and it's getting more and more popular, and the level is getting better and better each year. We're bringing in world-class players into that league, so that has been an asset as well. But for Canada to have its own identity, for young players to know that they have all the hard work and dedication that they're going to put forth, there's an incentive now for them to keep going, because now they have a league that can reward them for all the hard work and dedication that they're making. For parents who are taking their kids from point A to point B every day, they see that as okay. Now there might be some benefits from this. I think that's always encouraging. So what we need now is corporate Canada to get involved and to put their money where their mouth is, and have an understanding that this is the number one sport in the world, and Canada has to be right there with the rest of the world. And if that happens, I think this league can be a very, very successful league, and I'm looking forward to it. Like I said, I'm overjoyed.
Alex, I was talking to some people involved in Canadian soccer recently, and we were speculating on who might make a good commissioner of this league. And I'm not going to lie, your name came up. Would something like that or a role similar interest you to come back into this country and support this league that way?
I can tell you this. I definitely want to get involved. I think that Canada has given so much to me, and it would be nice to get back, to be able to give back and pass on my experiences. I've been involved in football, soccer for over 30-something years. I was fortunate enough to play with and against some of the best players in the world in Portugal, and when I was in England, and we played with some great players in the Canadian Soccer League as well. So all of those experiences that I've gotten playing against and being coached by some of the best coaches, I've been passing that on to young players, and my son included, and here in Minnesota. So to be able to do that in Canada would be very rewarding, and something that I think I would definitely think about it. Now, in terms of being a commissioner of the league, I've never thought of that. Something came about and it made sense for me to move in that direction, and I have the confidence of others. I would definitely look into it. Definitely.
All right, Alex, we appreciate your time today. Appreciate your representing Canada for all those years, and representing the sport in a general way. If people want to, is there some way people can help out with your initiative in Guyana if they want to, like a donation or something like that?
Yes, I mean, we're always looking for some sort of help in terms of equipment. That's something that's a big need in Guyana. Soccer balls, soccer boots, even if they're used. I mean, these are things that can help these kids out, and we've been doing that. And you can go to my Creative APSA website that we have. It's APSA ABSAA. And what you get from that, you'll be able to contact me and my outreach managers, and we can coordinate things and get things over here to Guyana. It'd be much appreciated.
All right, Alex Bunbury, Canadian international, Hamilton Steelers legend. We thank you for your time, Alex.
Oh, we thank you. We thank you big time. And I say we because my family appreciates everything that you guys are doing, and you keeping me in the loop and all of that. So I thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the day.
You are listening to Soccer Today, live on SPN Radio. Visit sportspodcastingnetwork.com for more.
That was fun.
That was fun. Thanks to Alex Bunbury for his time today. Always fun to talk about development, and with someone that has a very unique experience too in our system, and before and after. And it's quite interesting to see his point of views.
Yeah, and obviously very passionate and knowledgeable about the game and the development side of the game, which is what we need. Look, what that last question I asked wasn't completely out of left field. It is a name that I've heard bantied about for having a role in this. Whether or not he will be the man ultimately to lead the league or to play a major role, who knows? But certainly, I think we would all benefit from repatriating Alex Bunbury. We'll leave it at that. But yeah.
Hey, we got through it without going there. We're not too bad. We're pretty good. And I was wondering too, is the way he talks about the Canadian soccer and development, what he needs, he might be, if not at the Canadian Premier League commissioner, if he's involved at least, it could be beneficial. His point of views are beneficial for soccer players to create better players, and better players, not that the ones we have are not good, no, just more complete. And like you mentioned, individual brilliance, that's what we have very much difficulty producing in pretty much any sport now. It's always outliers, but outside of that, we need to be able to create more of those, and Bunbury has an idea of how to do it. And it's kind of interesting too, because it all goes back to pretty much when you're alone with the ball, practice more, and that will get you a long way.
Yeah, look, the individual thing, I think there's something inherent about the Canadian sort of culture that prevents that in a way. Even think about our hockey players. Obviously, we produce brilliant hockey players, but their creativity is ground out of them at a young age, right? Like they're, don't ever dare be, demonstrative. Like look at
don't hot
PK
dog.
Subban,
Don't hot dog.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It drives me insane. And when it comes to a soccer side, to get it back on track, there was a lot of let's think about maybe the only Canadian player to have that kind of flair. I'm not going to say, he obviously had weaknesses in his game, but certainly Duane had a bit of that in him, and there were a lot of people who criticized him in Canadian soccer for that. And that's,
he was hated
ridiculous.
For it. It was really, literally hated for it.
Yeah. And I mean, look, I get it on a rival perspective, why somebody in Montreal might not like him, because he was a Toronto guy and he kind of epitomizes Toronto in a lot of ways. But nonetheless, he was hated amongst certain Canadian internationals. He's hated amongst TFC fans, some of them, because he thought he was too showy, too flashy. And it's like, come on, man. You can't just do that. Let's just allow players to be creative out there. And it's silly.
Allow people to be themselves, right? It's not that he's flashy. He's more exuberant than you. Yeah, but we're not you. We are not you. And people are not you. So stop putting projection on other people because you're not like them, and embrace it.
Yeah, I can't wait till PK Subban brings the Stanley Cup back to Montreal. But
I'm gonna have some signs on my wall that says the Habs, and ever since that trade, I'm still angry about it.
Yeah, I have a feeling that there might be as many celebrations in Montreal the night that if Nashville does in fact win the cup, and I think they might actually, which is terrifying.
Well, EA Sports NHL 17 has predicted Nashville winning the cup. They predicted against Montreal. That won't happen, and that would have been something. But back to soccer.
Yeah, Stanley Cup final decided in Ottawa with PK Subban winning the Stanley Cup 2 hours from Montreal. That's going to be something. But we'll get back to soccer.
Saint Laurent or something.
Yeah. Anyhow, that's look. Anything else we want to unpack from that? It obviously, like I said, there's a lot of passion there, a lot of knowledge on the technical side. As I said, and I was kind of making a little wink and nod to Teal, but to Alex himself, he's given a lot back to Minnesota soccer right now, and it would be great if we could get some of that. And that is, to be serious, so something that we've struggled with too, is that we lose athletes in all sports, but in soccer in particular, we lose them to other countries, not just literally in cases like with Teal, but figuratively, kind of like he's going. Yeah, well, Alex is, he's down there coaching in Minnesota right now rather than back here because the opportunities just didn't exist in Canada. And that's another thing that the Canadian Premier League will do, is it's going to get guys like him coming back. I'll give you another name that's from not quite Alex's era, just a little bit after, Rob Friend. I've been told that Rob Friend is involved in the Canadian Premier League in an investment group right now. So, and if you know where he's from, you might be able to figure out what investment group. I'll just leave it at that and let you put the puzzle together yourself. But nonetheless, guys like that getting back into the country, staying involved, that's important. And it's something we've lost for years and years because we had no place for them to go. All right, Kevin, why don't do we have another bumper lined up? We'll do a quick bumper, then we'll come back.
Sure.
We'll, let's just finish the Montreal Vancouver game, and we'll wrap with that.
You are listening to SPN Radio, powered by the Sports Podcasting Network. Visit sportspodcastingnetwork.com for more.
And St. Clair, congratulations, boys.
I wanted to at least find a way to play a St. Clair bumper today with their Ottawa big victory in Ottawa last night. And now we're not talking about the Sens. Ottawa Fury did beat TFC.
I was texting with him last night in the game. He just sent me a text message and said, "Long ride home, ha ha ha." I went, "Joke's on you. I'm in Toronto."
Joke's on you. I have 5 steps to my bed. But no. Speaking of 5 steps to your bed, late last night, the Montreal Impact lost 2-1 to Vancouver. Terrible first half. But the second half and the injection of Patrice Bernier once again changed everything for Montreal. Once Bernier got on the pitch, lo and behold, passes from the midfield go through. Transition of the other team stops. Montreal's able to build something in the midfield. And before Patrice Bernier, especially this iteration of the midfield of the Montreal Impact, which was basically consisted of Aregi and Malice, was not successful in the first half and quite detrimental to the 2 goals conceded by Montreal. And it did not look good after 45.
No, tale of 2 halves doesn't even do this one justice. The Impact looked horrendous in the first half.
Like worse than Ottawa in the first half. Like you can't really compare, but Montreal was. They have trouble to start in league, and guess what? It was even worse last night.
Yeah, look, I tweeted out during that first half that this could get ugly, and I stand by it. At that point in time, I thought the Whitecaps might throw like 5 or 6 on them. They looked that bad, but
good thing
they got it together and they made the adjustments. It's too bad that Patrice, he picked a bad time to have a bad penalty, and he never has bad penalties, but he did that particular time. It was
the shot in the 90th minute too. Point blank, and he's getting saved by Ritchie once again. Spencer Ritchie has something against Canadian international Patrice Bernier. I don't know what it is, but twice he stopped him last night, and it was quite the saves for young Ritchie. Yes, Vancouver goalkeeper. Patrice Bernier had 2 goals close, and unfortunately 2 saves by Ritchie, and the penalty was not that great. But it wasn't bad either. Like, velocity was there. It was a great leap by Ritchie. And thank God that Ritchie is 7'9", because he got to the ball, which was almost at the post. So it was a heck of a leap by Spencer Ritchie on Patrice Bernier's penalty in the second half.
Yeah. No, like I said, maybe he could have had a little bit more velocity on it, but it's kind of hard to criticize Patrice on his penalty taking. He's been brilliant at it his whole career and in MLS as well. So, obviously, an unfortunate time to miss that, because that would have made, had they tied that game 2-2 after that first half, I'd be ready to anoint them already into the final. But as it is right now, the momentum has to be all on Montreal's side. If you're the Whitecaps, you've got to feel a bit snake bitten in this competition, as they always have been, other than the one year they did manage to win it.
Every other year, it was kind of it was becoming a trope. How is Vancouver going to get themselves out of this tournament this year?
Yeah, no, it really is. If you're an American listener or a listener new to this, Vancouver's history in the Voyageurs Cup is hilarious if you're not a Whitecaps fan. Nonetheless, of the 6-1 game with them standing.
We're gonna win. It's for sure, right? Toronto has to beat Montreal by like 6 goals. Oh wait, they did.
Yeah. Even Impact fans must get a little amusement over a Teeter sitting in the rain with the look of like complete despair on his face as the rain's coming down. It's because for those that don't remember, okay, Toronto had to win by 4 goals. Toronto was terrible. There was no way they were winning by 4 goals. They won 6-1. Montreal started a complete it was basically equivalent of a PLSQ team, basically.
It was like the attack. It was like the Trois-Rivières attack starting from Montreal.
Yeah, it was not a very good lineup that they threw out there, and Duane Rosario got rolling, and Chad Barrett and Armando Guevara, like the TFC put their top players out there that game. But at any rate, the point I'm making is that the Whitecaps were in town to play the Impact in what was, in the Impact's mind, a much more important game because the Impact couldn't win the Voyageurs Cup that night. It was a complete dead rubber for
Oh, it's
them.
in 2012.
It was earlier than that, but I think it was the first time TFC won the B Cup. So we're talking 2009.
Okay, yeah.
At any rate,
But
so
that created like Je me souviens 6-1, like the device of Quebec, right? The phrase of Quebec. I remember.
Yeah.
And then go back, flashback to 2013. Vancouver's going to win. They're going to win. They're winning against Montreal late in like 87th minute of the second leg, right? It's for the cup. Asun Kamara scores off a corner, and you see the slow motion of him running, and in the background you have the big banner, Je me souviens 6-1. Like, that's an amazing moment. I just saw the images last night, and that was quite a memory.
Yeah, and then of course there's Will Johnson scoring with the literal last kick of the tournament, breaking his leg in the process to eliminate them.
Talk about legend. He breaks his leg to win the cup.
Oh my heavens! All right, yeah. Sorry, Vancouver listeners, but it's funny.
It's funny to us, at least.
It's
the only thing we can actually agree on. It's to make fun of Vancouver's history in the Voyageurs Cup. But yeah,
there you go. It's Montreal and Toronto getting together finally. All right,
it's like the fans of Portland and Montreal getting together in the stands to make fun of you guys.
Yeah, last. It wasn't quite to the same level last night, obviously, but there was an element to it because they looked like they were rolling, and then all of a sudden, it just got bad. And as bad as Montreal looked in the first half, there were points in that second half that I thought Vancouver looked as bad. But nonetheless,
Balou impresses me every time he plays. Yeah, he's learning how to manage his efforts on 90 minutes, and that is normal. But the flashes of brilliance that he shows, the one-on-ones, how he shakes off two defenders, get himself open, and he has the same aspect as Piatti, where you think he's holding the ball too long. He's going to lose it now, of course, and he's going to lose. And he's back open, and he's back with the ball, and there's a chance, and it's really interesting to see Bellew play. I'm amazed on a weekly basis now.
Yeah, and look, I mean, we're all hoping that he might get cap-tied in a month or so, but we'll see how that
Canada. Choose Canada, Bellew. Choose us for the Gold Cup.
Precisely. That's speaking of Canada and caps. I mean, we let's briefly mention that Patrice Bernier did get the call up for probably might be his last hurrah. He might not get the Gold Cup call, but he is going to get a final cap for Canada in Montreal, which would be a fitting way for him to end his international career in front of home fans. Hopefully, Montreal folks can get out there and see their own off. I know it's hard for, and I don't know all the reasons why it's difficult for people in Montreal and Quebec to get behind the Canadian national team because of the lack of Quebec representation over the years. But
Crépeau's going to play. Maxime Crépeau of the Impact, who played as a goalkeeper last night too, will be probably starting for the national team, and Patrice Bernier. So you have some Montreal Impact content, some local content, and Canada can actually beat Curacao. So there you go. You don't see that often in Canada win in Montreal, so why not go and attend?
They really should beat them. There's no real reason. They beat Bermuda. I'll say that. And this is going to be the future of Canada moving forward with this League of Nations things. There's going to be more games like this, and there'll be more games in Canada like this. So this is a positive thing that we can get some momentum for this program to win some games at home, even if you are playing, islands. Nonetheless, I do think it's important to get some wins and get some momentum for the program that way. But let's finish off with the Whitecaps and be somewhat positive with them, because the positives in the first half comes in two names and another player that we'd like to see capped, Alphonso Davies with the goal and an assist.
That's what Peter Shah was saying last night. Is this process is advancing? He's going to be able to accept the call soon. The papers are not finished, and the time that he needs to be in Canada for things only a year remaining, if I'm not mistaken, and that would be fitting the timeline of like those 5 years where you have to be a resident. And we'll see, but soon, hopefully, Davies for Canada.
Yeah, I've been told that when he turns 18, will pretty much be when he will get his full citizenship. Probably not before, so it's unlikely. It's impossible. We're not going to see him for the Gold Cup, but it does also seem from everything that I've been told that Alphonso Davies will represent Canada eventually. It's just a matter of getting that paperwork through. It's not as cut and dry with Baloo because his options are better, right? And I mean that's where we're at with this, and this ties into the Alex Bunbury conversation. Is a lot of reasons we lose players is because what we can offer them is not close to what they might be able to be offered somewhere else. And if you have the Ivory Coast knocking at your door, and we don't know whether they are, but if they are, it's hard to ignore that if you're a player, as much as we as voyageurs, we as supporters of Canadian soccer want to think otherwise. But we hope that one can get settled because that's an awfully nice young sort of combination. I sometimes say, I tweeted this out about a month or so ago too. When you think about MLS and you think about maybe the three best young offensive players in this league, if you consider Kyle Lawrence still young, all Canadian, and Baloo, that's interesting to me.
Davies and Larin. Can you imagine those three up top for your country? Come on,
yeah,
it's starting no, exactly. It's starting to look very decent.
No, you still have to find a midfield and backline. But
put Baloo as a 10, Davies as a left winger, and you got yourself Larin up top. You just need somebody on the right flank, and you got yourself an not too bad top four.
There you go. Jay Chapman looks like he might be able. Yesterday aside, looks like he might be able to provide something moving forward too in a creative role too as well. But nonetheless, all right. Kevin, Alex Bunbury today. That was a nice little surprise. We booked that one late. Very articulate, very passionate about the game. Enjoyed that a great deal. Hopefully we can get him back. And when I asked that question about the commissioner thing, that wasn't, as I said, pulled completely out of my elbow. So that's cross our fingers and hope that we can get guys like that involved in this league. Kevin, I'm going to say goodbye on the day now. I'll let you, as always, wrap the show up.
Hashtag bring Alex back to Canada. At Soccer Today SPN, you can follow Duane at 24th Minute and myself at Kev Laramee. If you're a racing fan, Formula One fan, Indy 500 fan, well, this week is your week. You got Monaco this weekend, you got Indy 500, and the Sports Podcasting Network's got you covered. 2 preview shows. One came out last night, one's coming out in the next few minutes. Scuderia F1, Monaco GP preview, and our special look at Indy 500. Myself and former professional race car driver AJ Job take a name that you're familiar with on the soccer side as well. I used to cover the Columbus Crew a few years ago. We talked about Indy 500, its history, its future history, Alonso at the Indy 500, and a lot of great content. So if you like racing, I suggest you take a listen. And as always, until tomorrow, have a great soccer. You were listening to SPN, the Sports Podcasting Network. Visit us, sportspodcastingnetwork.com.